Many thanks, and of course we want to continue apace with the conversation here. As I mentioned earlier on the teaser, I'm holding court with the Wiper Patriotic Front leader. This is Senior Counsel Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, aka Karaoke. You know, yeah, that has been trending the whole day. Well, we all Kikuyus.
I'm told it's now at 900,000 hits.
I'm telling you.
Wow.
But karaoke, I'm interested to know why karaoke?
You know,
why not Jogona?
People have just given me the name, and I love them. I really like it because I talked about the fact that we shouldn't profile any community. We are all Kenyans, and the one nation, one people. So I'm very proudly karaoke. Stephen Kalonzo Karaoke Musyoka. Maybe SKKM. SWKM or something like that. Maybe I'll do a deed poll and change my name. Depends on what Kenyans recommend.
So it becomes legal.
Well, it can become legal. Yeah, it's normal. You know, but for now, I think the message is clear.
Okay.
Please do not profile any community. And that is a message Kenyans are sending.
Indeed, indeed.
So hashtag, we are all Kikuyu.
We all Kikuyus.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
we are all Kikuyus, we are all Kambas, we are all Luyas, we are all Luos, we are all Kalenjins, we are all Somalis.
Right.
Kenyan Somalis. So,
so for the interest of this conversation, maybe you can call me Dibal Mutongoria Aina.
Oh, Dibal Mutongoria. But you have a complicated name, Debal. Yeah, so it is good. It's very proudly Kenyan.
Fantastic.
Really, that's what we are.
You know, just finally on it, you know, when you're talking about karaoke, it reminds me also in the Bible we have Judas, if you may remember Judas.
Yes.
So there's a contraption. Yeah, Judas Iscariot. You know what the contraption of Iscariot is? They say Judas is karaoke.
No. I'll run as far as I can from that. No.
Anyway, Senior Counsel Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, thank you so much for graciously consenting to be part of this conversation this evening on the Insight here on the Daily Report. And we look forward to getting a rich stream of information from you regarding the current state of play in the country. And just talking about the current state of the country right now, we're looking at the economic hardship. We're looking at the political unrest, youth disillusionment.
Unemployment.
We are talking about abductions and torture, institutional strain. Question is Kenya in a polycrisis?
Kenya is at a crossroads. I think I'll put it that way. But the good thing about Kenya is when a lot of other people are just about to write it off, like the proverbial phoenix rise out of the ashes. And I'm sure that we will rise up above the current difficulties. The situation may seemingly be insurmountable, but we will, as a country, rise above it. And thanks to a very large part, the current situation, the major contributors are young Kenyans, the Gen Zs, who have loudly and clearly said, we will not allow you, older generation, to mess up our future, mess up with our future. We want accountability. We know there may not be available jobs for all of us, but whatever jobs are available, we want to see transparency when you are hiring us, when you want us to join your defense forces, when you want us to join the police force, the prisons and all, we want transparency, not people. We want even to become teachers. We don't want to be given letters at funeral ceremonies. And at the same time, there are others who have been waiting to become employed under TSC for 10 years. 10 years. But just because you have a member of parliament who is Kenya Kwanza, they are given letters of appointment as Teacher Service Commission at State House, right? State House has become anything to anybody. So these are, young Kenyans are saying, we want our country back. So, because of that, 2023, we demonstrated as Azimio if you remember.
Yes.
And before that, of course, some of us have been always on the streets in order to fight against injustice, as you saw it, stolen elections. In 2013, in 2017, yeah, that time we were talking about Hassan Commission, IEBC. I remember I was tear gassed along University Way, and I lost my Kofia written wiper there. So it was the media focused on it. And later on, William Ruto, when he was deputy president, went to some place in Ukambani and said, a whole vice president was sitting on the tarmac, on the tarmac, okay? And so we have seen it, but the new push by the Gen Zs is amazing. It has even captured international attention. In fact, our youth movement here inspired the changes now in Bangladesh. Sri Lanka happened a little earlier, but Bangladesh, university students came out, and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had to flee by helicopter to India because the young people of Bangladesh were inspired by what the youth in Kenya had tried to do.
But at a cost, because we're looking, at a cost. We're talking about 33 lives that were just lost on Monday. And that number, as I mentioned earlier, has ticked up to 140 since 2023, just as you mentioned. Today, we had the record mass of Boniface Karaoke, who was actually shot at a close range. And barely, days after Albert Ojwang's fresh cloud of soil has settled on his grave, we have Bridget Njoki, who was shot on Monday in the safety of the house, while she was watching TV here in Kiambu and Ndumberi village. We had also Dennis Mutuma Mwangi shot dead outside his home in Kiambu County again. Laban Kamau shot dead in Ndumberi as well. Clearly, we are not safe. And our days are stitched with concerns of survival. How did we find ourselves here?
The cost is high. Tremendously high, unacceptably high. In 2013, we lost 70 plus. In 2024, as protests against the infamous Finance Act, another 70 or so. In fact, the numbers are in excess of 140, if you ask me.
Yes.
And then, this last Saba Saba event, quite apart from the lives lost, the amount of property destroyed, vandalized by goons, and goonism has become a new norm, funded completely by the state, so that you make the young people look they're the ones responsible for the destruction. It's actually been a very shameful thing. And we keep on telling this William Ruto administration that this is how Haiti began. And we wonder why. We wonder whether when we send our policemen to Haiti, it was to allow them to learn some of these very dirty tricks about organized militias. So we become a country, a constitutional democracy, and yet a country that is under the rule of the militia, leave alone the police and others. And now the president himself has become part of the militia, part of the misrule. When he announces to the whole world that what Murkomen said about shoot them outside police stations, now he says shoot them on the legs.
Shoot
How anybody shooting, I wonder, you go and shoot somebody on the legs? So I think there's something basically wrong with the president himself. I want to say the president has become a national security risk. Now that's a serious statement to make. Because what head of state who has sworn to uphold the Constitution as by law established should be the main defender of the Constitution? And this is the one now leading and saying, shoot to kill, which he knows is unconstitutional. The right to life.
Shoot to maim.
How do you know when you are maiming? If indeed, as you said, Ainea, that children watching television, there was one shot in Karatina in a gym, right? And others, because police are using live bullets, right? How can you then say you shoot them on the legs? It is as simple as that, shoot to kill, because these are live bullets. And that's what I'm saying, because of that statement alone, the president has moved from the position of being head of state to a national security risk. And when that happens, it's a very grave matter. So the country is in grave danger.
Right. And the president seems to be in a fulminating anger, just looking back at what he was saying today during his tour of police housing project in Kilimani. He said, quote unquote, those who attack our police, those who attack our security men and women, those who attack our security installation, including police stations, that is a declaration of war. That is terrorism. We're going to deal with you firmly. He continues to say we cannot have a nation that is run by terror. We cannot have a nation that is governed by violence. We cannot. And it will not happen under my watch. And the reason I'm asking this is because you stood in the Kahawa West Law Courts, shoulder to shoulder. That was yesterday, with Peter Kinyanjui and Wanjiku Thiga.
And another 35.
And another 35 who are facing terrorism charges leveled against them by the state.
Including a head of, a member, a sitting member of parliament for Runyenjes.
Yes.
No, not Runyenjes, Manyata in Embu.
Manyata, this is Gitonga Mukunji.
Mukunji.
Yes.
That's right.
So, and you say this act is inflaming the country.
Yes.
How so?
When a whole president says, young people who pursuant to a lawful demonstration, right, end up having police stations burned down, how can that be a declaration of war? I mean, look at it. It's the president who can actually declare war, but not war on citizens, not war on your own citizens. Declaration of war is with regard to another country, okay? So I think he's lost it. President William Ruto needs to retrace his steps and recognize as the chief administrator of a nation, if you like, a CEO. He cannot talk that language. He looks very angry. He looks like he's lost it. He's lost his sense of balance and articulation. No, articulation is trying, but he's articulating things that are baffling. So, young people, young children, how can they declare war? Or they're saying, for example, when Albert Ojwang was killed at a police station, Kenyans continue to express frustration with the fact that police stations should not be morgues. And then what happened when they were burying Albert Ojwang in Homa Bay? Thousands of young people went out and burned that police station where originally Albert Ojwang was taken. Are you saying that is a declaration of war? Of course it is not.
Will you characterize that as a terrorism?
It is not even terrorism. By the way, I would be surprised if the 1,000 plus young people in Homa Bay would be hunted and taken to Kahawa West, where I was yesterday and today and tomorrow I'll be there, right? To tell Kenyans, you cannot, under, by the way, the Prevention of Terrorism Act, call it POTA.
Yes.
Lawyers like to use short forms. So Prevention of Terrorism Act.
Yes.
The definition of what is a terrorism act is very clear. And there is a proviso to Article 2, actually Section 2 of that act. And it was passed as Act number 30 of 2012. I was in Parliament, and I can clearly remember the intention of Parliament was not to end up radicalizing the citizens and calling them terrorists, as William Ruto is trying to suggest, a declaration of war, terror, and that kind of thing. Where the act is very clear, where, and we spend a lot of time explaining even to the magistrate, and we're getting our ruling, where pursuant to a lawful demonstration, things get out of hand like they do, all right? Then you cannot charge young Kenyans with terrorism. There's a clear exception because adequate notice was given about June 25th that young Kenyans are going to commemorate the deaths of their loved ones and their friends and their peers, and again Saba Saba. And in fact, I remember on the part of the United Opposition, we gave that notice. This is why I ended up playing the wreath outside on Parliament House. They could not allow us to get to Parliament itself. They had put their sengenge type of stuff, which, by the way, the courts have ruled today. The Inspector General of Police is restricted, is now been contained. We hope you follow that during the next spate of demonstrations. But the point here, Ainea, is that you cannot charge Kenyans with acts of terrorism if they have been taking part in a lawful assembly or a lawful demonstration.
And by the way, if I may just butt in, you know, the president also faulted the High Court's ruling when you talk about the barring of police roadblocks.
Yes.
That you know, we got that particular ruling from the courts today during Dembo Say. He says it's unfair to majority of Kenyans who lack bodyguards.
Who lack?
Bodyguards.
What has that to do? It is members of parliament who are bodyguards, okay,
That's
who
what
barricade themselves.
Yes.
You know, Kenyans elect members of parliament to go to parliament. It's a house for the people. But you cannot even allow citizens, constituents, to reach their members of parliament and to serve them with petitions.
Okay.
But the president also knows he can get the attorney general to make an appeal. That's a normal thing in a constitutional democracy, in a country under the rule of law.
Okay.
Okay.
So I wanted just to do a follow-up with that particular question, because you say this act is inflaming the country.
Yes.
But critics credibly also argue that the united opposition, their rhetoric, which we had yesterday, particularly the framing the current administration as a hostile regime,
yes,
could be seen as heightening national tensions. If I may just read verbatim what was said yesterday by Mokesa Kitui.
Yes. No, he was doing it on behalf of all of us.
Yes, on behalf,
I was
of
in
course.
court
So
myself.
you were in court by
And
by
they
that
were
time.
actually doing it from SKM Center.
Right. So if he says, quote unquote, we are calling the Kenyan Republic to take this regime as a hostile regime.
Yes.
It's an enemy of the Constitution and the people. It has declared war. And on the people, it has declared war.
Yes.
On citizens of Kenya. And we, the people, must resist to be dragged into a state of anarchy. The architects, enablers, financiers, the executors of this regime's violence will be held personally liable, both locally and internationally.
That's right.
The day of reckoning is coming. No badge, no title, and no political alliance will shield you from justice. Are you, as United Opposition Kenya, also not inflaming the country?
Absolutely not.
By
we are
calling on Kenyans to take this regime
yes,
as a hostile regime?
Hostile regime. What do you make of a regime that has, say, a convoy of 10 numberless, plate numberless, if you like, Subarus, with men carrying arms there, all right? And they invade Gong Town, right? Allow goons to go and plunder people's private property. And then we all know they are actually acting under instructions, because under the criminal, let me actually be specific, the International Criminal Court Act, the ICC, we call it the Rome Statute, says the persons bearing the highest responsibility. In this case, would be the IG, or if you like now, William Ruto himself, who has actually said, right, that we will not take it anymore, enough is enough, with a lot of fury, So what the United Opposition is doing, or were doing yesterday, was to tell the country that we are not going to allow a rogue state because that, you know, that act itself, what happened on Saba Saba, yeah, with the gangs funded by the state, gangs with instructions to go to every part of central Kenya, for example, and plunder and cause enormous pain and loss to business community, and blame it on the opposition. And Kenyans are so wise. You see, they said even if you want to tell a lie, you have to exercise some intelligence. So people are able to see through. This is why the opposition say this is obviously a hostile regime. And we have also tried to say we may next time call for economic boycott of some of the institutions and some of the private companies that are trying to help this company, this government.
But we've been there before. We've been there before. Your Excellency.
We were not as clear thinking as we are right now. We know exactly. So, for example, people's privacy, telephone numbers are followed. That's why a lot of Kenyans too go to WhatsApp and to Signal and other places, because they know they're being listened to, and then to be able to be arraigned in court and be charged with terrorism. So Kenyans are saying, we will go for you, we will call you out. And you know, we have now established as a united opposition. When William Ruto says, oh, these people have no agenda other than Ruto must go or something, we've given him a strong agenda, the establishment of the People's Restorative Justice Commission under former Attorney General and former Speaker Justin Muturi.
So in your capacity...
And we're actually telling Kenyan, because I saw a young lady was filming what was happening in Ngong. When a young man was shot dead, she's able to say, oh my goodness, that one has been killed, and she's filming. So we are telling Kenyans who have filmed these instances to now feel free to present that as evidence. We want to tell William Ruto, we have a very strong agenda. And the agenda is we will not allow this country to go to the dogs. Okay.
All right. We'll just pause that. We'll take a short break, but we have more questions that we need your answers as well. We shall talk about ICC and why also you're calling for, you know, the president to be accountable, and you're looking forward to international court to, of course, prosecute some of these atrocities that we do have in the country. And we will talk about that on the other side of the break as well. Thank you very much. You're watching The Insight here on TV47. We want to take a short break right now. But of course, when we circle back, we will continue with the conversation. This is where truth has a new address. Don't go away.